Hey everybody, welcome to Crackback Tuesday number 147 on the Mana League. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves a pack of Dominaria. We've actually got ourselves 2 packs of Dominaria. It's going to be a back-to-back bonus double Crack Pack episode because I want to get that sponsored Crack-a-Pack thing going because both of these packs belong to people. People are going to get every card in this pack, or the rare in the pack, or the foil in the pack. I'll contact them, figure out what they want. Could be the pack is worthless, they don't actually want it, but I will talk to them, and I don't yet have a crazy spinny wheel. So all I did was, again, put the patrons who donated at the $5 level and above this month into a spreadsheet, threw in some random numbers, randomized those numbers, sorted largest to smallest, and the first pack is going to go to Daniel. Now, one other thing that I'm trying before we crack into this pack is a new camera setup. I'm just using my phone here because it's a little bit, a fair bit easier for me to set up, record, do a whole bunch of stuff. It doesn't give the nice overhead view, but I'll try to hold the cards nice and stable. If this view doesn't work for you, let me know. We can go back next week to the overhead view. But we're going to crack this pack, see what's in it, see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft, and send out the cards that Daniel wants to him. Up first, we have Opt. Opt is a single blue mana for an instant. Scry 1, draw a card. Certainly not a first pick. I like it a little bit more than some people do, but nowhere near a first pick. Up next is Gitu Journey Mage. Gitu Journey Mage is 2 and a red for a creature human wizard at common. It's a 3/2. When Gitu Journey Mage enters the battlefield, if you control another wizard, Gitu Journey Mage deals 2 damage to each opponent. Yeah, I mean, if the wizard's tribal deck is really going to work in draft, this is probably going to be one of the things that makes it work, and you're going to want as many of these as you can to do 2, 4, 6, 8 points of damage, but certainly not a first pick. It's not going to pull you into that tribe. Up next is Excavation Elephant. Wow, that's a lot of hard words to say at once. Excavation Elephant is 4 and a white for a creature elephant at common. It's a 3/5. That's it. But if you kick it for an extra 1 and a white, you get to return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Not very exciting. Not a first pick. I wouldn't even include this in most decks. Up next is Llanowar Envoy. Llanowar Envoy is 2 and a green for a creature elf scout. It's a 3/2. Pay 1 and a green, add 1 mana of any color. This is okay if you are 3, 4, 5 color good stuff, which is a deck that I thoroughly enjoyed in the pre-releases in the sealed. I've yet to see if it works in draft or not, but this is not a first pick. This is a pick that you pick up once you already know you're going into that 3rd color. Up next is Windgrace Acolyte. Windgrace Acolyte is 4 and a black for a creature cat warrior. It's a 3/2 flyer. When Windgrace Acolyte enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard and you gain 3 life. This is fine. This is kind of like Black's Windrake, I guess. It's going to get in for some damage. Could even be the card that kind of wins you the game, in addition to a bunch of removal and stuff to back it up. Probably not a first pick in most packs. It's the first pick right now, so I guess we can keep it in frame, but let's hope it goes away at some point. In fact, it's going away right now, because we got Sheevan Fire. Sheevan Fire is a single red mana for an instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If the spell was kicked, deals 4 damage instead. This is solid. This is shock, and later in the game, when shock's not quite as relevant, it's double shock. For a lot more mana, but it's late enough in the game that it won't matter. Sheevan Fire is definitely first pickable. It is on the lower end of first pickable because it is just a shock or a bigger shock, but it's definitely going to stay in frame at the moment as a potential first pick. Up next is Call the Cavalry. Call the Cavalry is 3 and a white for a sorcery. Create 2 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance. I think this is also first pickable in some packs. I don't know if it goes up against Sheevan Fire all that well, but it is a relatively high pick card. Getting 2 bodies with vigilance for 4 mana is pretty solid. We can keep it in frame for now. Never mind. We got a Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves is a single green mana for a creature elf druid. It's a 1/1 tap, add a green. This is a fantastic first pick. There are a lot of stuff that you can dump mana into with kickers and mana sinks and etc. So I would always be happy first picking a Llanowar Elves. Probably pick it over Sheevan Fire. Let's keep that in frame. I believe this is probably our last common, maybe not. Aspiring Construct, a single mana for a 1/1. When it dies, you put a counter on target creature you control. It's got a short sword. When it dies, somebody else picks up that short sword. I don't like 1/1s for 1. I don't like 1/1s for 1 that then throw a counter on something when it dies. This is just such a low impact card. It's never a first pick, and generally not an include. Unless, maybe if you're super deep on historic matters. Up next is Eviscerate. This pack actually got pretty good after a slow start. 3 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. Solid first pick card, unconditional removal, definitely competes with these two cards. In fact, I think Sheevan Fire just gets thrown out right now, and let's put Eviscerate in there. On to the uncommons, we got ourselves a Goblin War Chief. It's 1 red for a creature Goblin Warrior. It's a 2/2. Goblin spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Goblins you control have haste. There is no Goblins deck in this format. You don't play this card. It's an expensive, hard to cast 2/2, unplayable. Our second uncommon is Diligent Excavator. It's 1 and a blue for a creature Human Artificer. It's a 1/3. Whenever you cast a historic spell, target player puts the top 2 cards of their libraries into their graveyard. The mill deck doesn't really exist. I think you would have to get at least 3 of these, and that's extremely unlikely. The average draft pod is going to have 1 of these. I saw a draft pod with 2, and I still didn't go for it. So certainly not a first pick, and I don't think it's even really that playable. I'm going to take these cards off screen briefly, just because the packs are weird. If the legendary is not showing up already, the next card's actually the rare, and then the legendary uncommon is behind it. And I don't want to spoil the rare just yet, so let's take that off screen. Yeah, the rare is in fact behind it, so let's go like that. The last uncommon is Danitha Capuchin Paragon. Danitha Capuchin Paragon is 2 and a white for a legendary creature Human Knight. It's a 2/2. She's got First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, or an equipment spells you cast costs 1 less to cast. She's fantastic. I would first pick her in packs that didn't have Eviscerate and Llanowar Elves, but yeah, she's really, really good. She holds equipment really good. Just all-around all-star. This probably could have, should have just been a rare, but it's pretty good. Our rare, exactly like the last Crack-a-Pack we had, is Steel Leaf Champion. Steel Leaf Champion is green for creature Elf Knight at rare. It's a 5/4. Steel Leaf Champion can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Yeah, Steel Leaf Champion is pretty good. It's fantastic on turn 3. It's even better on turn 2 with a Llanowar Elf. And later in the game, it does die off a little bit, but you are still getting extremely efficient power, toughness, and ability for the mana that you're paying. I think you can happily first pick a Steel Leaf Champion, but you do need those 10, 11, preferably even more forests in your deck for it to be amazing. So in this pack, I think I am just on the Steel Leaf Champion. It definitely blows the Llanowar Elves out, despite the fact that you really desperately want a Llanowar Elves at some point if you're first picking that. And I think it probably just blows out the Eviscerate on power level as well. So I'm on Steel Leaf Champion here. Let me know what you would have taken in the comments down below. And this is going to be Daniel's pack, so I will contact Daniel on Patreon to get his input on which cards he wants me to send them. The whole pack, just the Steel Leaf, whatever. Perhaps the lands, actually, so I should keep the lands and the tokens, which was a mountain and a sapperling, with that pile. But that's the end of Crack-a-Pack 1, but it's a double Crack-a-Pack because there wasn't going to be enough Crack-a-Packs this month otherwise. So Crack-a-Pack number 2 for today is going to be this pack here, and it is going to go to Stardust KL. She was randomly chosen as the recipient of this pack. So we're going to crack this pack, see what's in it, and do the exact same thing we just did. Next week, we'll go back to individual Crack-a-Packs, but this week, I thought a doubleheader would be good. Up first is Syncopate. Actually, maybe right now I should go and find the rare and flip it over. The rare is... Where is the rare? The rare is at the back of the pack, as it should be. Cool. Syncopate is X and a blue for an instant. Counter-strike spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. I like Syncopate. It's one of my favorite counter spells in Limited, just because it works as a censor. It works as basically unconditional later in the game. Really good. Never a first pick. Up next is Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental is 3 red for a creature elemental. It's a 5/4. That's it. Never a first pick. Generally cut this as much as humanly possible. Up next is Dub. Dub is 2 and white for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has first strike, and is a knight, in addition to its other types. This is a fine aura. It does what it needs to do. I'm not a big fan of it. There's a ton of ways for you to get absolutely blown out by using auras in this format. On Sarah's Wings is one that I'm willing to always go in on. This one I'm not willing to always go in on. I think you do cut this a bit regularly. Certainly not a first pick. Up next is Grow from the Ashes. Grow from the Ashes is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for basic land, put it into the battlefield. Untapped, by the way. If you kick it for 2 more mana, you go and get 2. If you're splashing, if you're going 3, 4, 5 color stuff, this is great. If you're ramping, this is still okay. Ramping, you typically want it to be on turn 1 or 2. 3 is getting a little bit late, but it's still okay. But it's never a first pick. Up next is Blessing of Belzenlock. Blessing of Belzenlock is a single black mana. For an instant, target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's legendary, it also gains lifelink until end of turn. Solid combat trick. A single mana is where you want to be for a combat trick like this. This will trade up in combat. This will let your creature live in combat. If it's a legendary, you get a bit of a life point swing. I like Blessing. I would generally play the first one. It's never a first pick. Up next is Gideon's Reproach. Gideon's Reproach is 1 and a white for an instant. Gideon's Reproach deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This is first pickable in a weaker pack. It's obviously, like 2 steps away from unconditional. They have to die due to 4 damage, and they have to be in combat. All those things happen, though, so Gideon's Reproach I'd be okay first picking. Up next is a Thallid Omnivore. Thallid Omnivore is 3 and a black for a creature fungus. It's a 3/3. Sacrifice another creature. Thallid Omnivore gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If a Saproling was sacrificed this way, you gain 2 life. This is okay. Having to pay 1 is a lot different than being free, unfortunately. But if you have a bunch of Saprolings, if you have a bunch of creatures that you can go wide with, then this can do some good work. You're generally probably wanting to sacrifice this for another trigger. You want to have a Slimefoot down or something. If you're just trying to make this big, this also needs Evasion or Trample or something like that. But it's an okay card, but not a first pick. Up next is Jousting Lance. Jousting Lance is 2 generic mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. As long as it's your turn, equipped creature has first strike. Equipped for 3 generic mana. Jousting Lance is kind of annoyingly playable. It is fine, and it can actually be super annoying. It annoys me that it's playable because it's 3 mana to equip, it's 2 to cast, it's only first strike on your turn, it's no toughness boost, but it's still just playable. It's not a high pick though, but if you've got a spot, if you're wanting to make your creatures bigger, this is fine. Saproling Migration is up next. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 green Saproling creatures. If you pay 4 more, you get to make 4. This is fine. Floods the board really well. If you're sacking to something like a Thallid Omnivore or the other one, the black one that's better, that lets you draw a card, this is pretty decent. I had some great success with this in the pre-release, doing Wild Onslaught with it. If you want to flood the board, this is a great way to do it, but probably not first pick it. Definitely not against a Gideon's Reproach. Blink of an Eye is up next. 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent, so sagas, etc., as well, to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. This is great. I would first pick a Blink of an Eye if the pack was weak. I don't think I would first pick it against Gideon's Reproach, but Bounce is really, really, really good in this format because people are playing auras that they probably shouldn't play, and this will blow them out. Yeah, I like Blink of an Eye quite a bit. Let's keep it in frame, but I don't think I pick it over Gideon's Reproach. On to the uncommons, we've got Dauntless Bodyguard. Dauntless Bodyguard is a single white mana for a creature human knight. It's a 2/1. As Dauntless Bodyguard enters the battlefield, choose another creature you control. Sacrifice Dauntless Bodyguard. The chosen creature gains indestructible until end of turn. This is a fine card. I really like that it's a 2/1 for 1 that is still somewhat relevant maybe in the later game, whereas 2/1s for 1 are usually really bad if you draw them on turn 6, 7, 8, 9. It's probably not a first pick. But once I know I'm going to kind of go wide, white weenie sort of aggro, then it's a very solid pickup. Up next is Thallid Soothsayer. That's the one I was thinking of. 3 and a black for a creature fungus at uncommon. It's a 2/3. Pay 2, sack a creature, draw a card. That is better than gaining 2 life, if and only if it's a Saproling. Yeah, this goes great in any sort of go-wide deck where you're producing a bunch of stuff. I had great success with this, sacking my clerics from Rite of Belzenlock after my demon was inevitably killed, and also just sacking Saprolings. Solid card, great card. I'd probably first pick it if the pack was weak. I don't think I would first pick it over either of those cards, though, so goodbye, Thallid Soothsayer. Our final uncommon is Memorial to War. Memorial to War is a land, comes in tapped, add a red, pay 4 and a red and sack it to destroy target land. Sacking your own land to blow up another land is awful. This card is awful. Don't ever let me see you playing that. Our rare is Torgar, Famine Incarnate. Torgar, Famine Incarnate is 6 black for a legendary creature avatar at rare. It's a 7/6. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. When Torgar, Famine Incarnate enters the battlefield, up to 1 target player's life total becomes half their starting life total rounded down. Yeah, this can be great. This can come down on like turn 4 as a 4-drop, and you've got yourself a 7/6 that maybe deals 10 damage to your opponent. There's a lot of cases, of course, where this is just much less impactful. If you're both at 10, It's just a 7/6 that costs you mana and maybe some creatures. It does say up to one target player's life total. So if you're at, 15 and your opponent's at 5, you can just choose to not target anybody so that you don't end up either dinging yourself or giving your opponent damage or giving your opponent life. Overall, I think it's probably fine. I think it's probably just too vanilla to be like a super awesome bomb. And we'll have to have a bit of a discussion. I think I probably first pick it over the Blink of an Eye and the Gideon's Reproach, especially this early, just because I haven't tried it out. I've seen it played a lot, and I've seen a lot of sack a creature, haha, 4-drop 7/6, kill it, which hurts, or blink it, and then, they're down 2 creatures and they've got to recast it again. So I think the format will probably shake out where it's probably not a first pick, but I think I'm going to start first picking it right now. So let me know what you would have taken from that pack as well in the comments down below, and I will contact Stardust to find out what cards she wants from this pack, if she wants the Torgar, if she wants all the cards, if she wants the tokens, etc. So be on the lookout for that on Patreon if you don't contact me first. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at TheManaLeak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeak, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeak, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeak, where if you become a $5 patron or above at any level, you become eligible to get all the content from each week's Kraken Pack. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.